I'd then put in obviously lowballing a little bit to say, look, the house is in need of refurb.
Yeah.
You've had some tenancy problems. I'll offer you 62. Secured it at 62 without seeing it.
Right.
Then actually went and viewed it.
Okay.
And then did my kind of what I call the PropertyX or renegotiation strategy, or what I do as a renegotiation strategy, and that is assessing the condition of the property.
Yeah.
Doing a really well copywritten email and a structure to it, presenting the problems of the property, and then we renegotiated that down to 52,000.
And he agreed.
So then I have a few options at that point. Depends how many projects I've got on the go.
Yeah.
But that property I then took on 52,000 and then sold it on to another investor for 66,000.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Alan here, and I've got a very, very special guest today right next to me. We've got Justin from PropertyX. How are you, Justin?
Really good, thank you for having me.
No problem at all. And I followed Justin's journey for many, many years now. So back in 2019, that's when he started out. And he's gone from estate agent, we're not going to judge you for that, of course, estate agent to property sourcing, to buying properties, to building a really large community. So today we're going to go through all that, learn about everything about property, get some advice on property, where the market's going, and we'll see what else we cover. So, Justin, how are you? Thanks for coming on. Are you well?
Really good. Yeah, a little bit weary-eyed this morning. We had an event last night over in Manchester.
Too many drinks, but...
No, just a late night, don't you worry.
You look fresh, mate. You look fresh.
Thank you.
We've got to get a paddle after this as well, so you better be ready for that.
I was very aware of that.
Yeah, that's why I had no drinks. Steve's laughing in the background there as well, because he knows he's going to get whooped, but anyway. But no, good. So, no, really good to have you on. What I wanted to start with, if you can tell us about your early days in the estate agent, because I think that's really, really pertinent, because I assume, not that you've learnt all your trade there, but you've probably learnt a lot from the estate agency in terms of the sourcing side, which we'll come on to. But if you can tell us about that and sort of what motivated you to move into real estate, probably starting with estate agency, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, estate agency was a massive part of my journey because I did it for so long, for about 7.5 years. And I got into that because when I was growing up, my grandfather was in property.
Yeah.
So he was a small-time property developer. And then it was my sort of parents. They weren't developers as such, but they would buy, renovate houses. Dad very hands-on. So I learnt about property. Was always told it was a good asset class to get into. Was always encouraged to go down that route. Knew at college, university's not for me. I want to earn money. I want to.
So did you go to college? Did you say then?
Yeah.
So property based course or
no? Nothing to do with that. To be fair, so just standard school, college, and it was at college actually that I met Steve that works with me, and he can vouch for the fact that I was kind of just bumbling through, I guess, at that point. Didn't have direction, but what I did know is I wanted to earn money, wanted to graft, wanted to just get out there into the world rather than go into further education. Sure. I was like, right, I think estate agency could be the way to go. So did everything I could to get into that industry, which I can talk about in a minute. It was quite hard to get into at the time. And actually, I would say the skills I've taken that aren't necessarily just to do with sourcing properties, but actually more to do with understanding how to deal with vendors, how to negotiate,
of course,
and position offers.
So when did you start in estate agency then? Because it's quite interesting. You said it's hard to get into.
2009.
Okay, right, that makes sense now. You can explain it for the viewers, but okay, cool. So it was hard because the property crash and there wasn't many properties selling. Probably a rental demand, I'm assuming, still then because people need to live somewhere. So the rental side was probably okay, but the actual buying and selling of properties was near enough dead at that point.
Exactly that. Yeah. Okay. The market was pretty on its arse, to be quite frank. And I'd gone into some estate agencies. I'd asked to, can I get a job here? What vacancies have you got? And they just said that we're not hiring. So in fact, the only way in the end for me to get a job was actually I decided to volunteer
at the estate agency.
At the estate agency.
That's interesting. We're really going to deviate off topic here today, which is really good, by the way. I like this. So what did you find from volunteering? Because I think what a lot of people struggle with today is people just want money now. So when you volunteered, did you find so if you take us through the process of volunteering, how was that for you, and how do you think it built you as a character then? Because that's really interesting.
Yeah, like looking back now, I'm proud that I did that because I don't know what motivated me at the time to do that because I was very like money hungry.
Yeah.
So to then go and work for free I did it for 6 months.
Right, okay,
So like
6 months.
6 months worth of free work. But what it was the fact that every agency I was going to was saying you need experience. Then I figured, well, I haven't got any experience. The only way to get it is to do the work.
Yeah.
So therefore, if I work for free, I'll get experience. Then someone will eventually pay me down the line.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really interesting topic because I think in life, you can invest in yourself in different ways.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of people are aware of the fact you can invest in yourself now by paying for courses, training, mentorship, and you can pay 2,000, 5,000, what have you. But there are other ways that you can invest in yourself. If you're 16 years old and you're like, oh, I don't have any money, I can't do that. Well, you can invest in yourself in another way by putting the time into learning a skill, working for someone for free. And I think people aren't always willing to pay their dues.
No.
Like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point. Obviously, the traditional route now, like you've just said, is going to university. But if you look at it that way, you're actually going there for free and you're actually getting a big debt. But you probably come out 50 grand over the debt as well. and depending on what course you're going to do as well, it could be worth nothing. If you're doing like, some sort of ology. Sorry for anyone who's doing ology watching this, by the way. But, but if you're doing a course which, is not a real strong degree, or, you're going to do medicine or dentistry, I sort of get people going to do that. But in terms of what you've done, it's probably worked out a lot better than going to university. Well, PropertyX will go on to that. The proof's in the pudding, really, isn't it? But I think that's really, really interesting. I think people just want money now, or instant gratifications, sort of what everyone's after, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to be fair, coming into property as well, obviously it's a long-term game as well, isn't it? Really, for your asset building and your capital appreciation. So I suppose really that sort of shows the sort of person that you are in terms of the actual. You've gone, don't want to earn money for 6 months, and it relates really well to property, that as well. I think anyway.
Somehow, even at that age,
it does.
A long-term mindset, and I do find if you can have a long-term mindset, you will actually find things will come to you quicker than you think. Anyway,
100%. Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, still now to an extent, I very much want stuff now. But I think as you get a little bit older, because we're of a similar age, aren't we? 25. Then you do sort of step back a little bit and take a bit of a long term view, which is good. Cool. So 2009 state agency. So you were there obviously 6 months volunteering. How long were you there in total in the end?
At that specific company or just in general?
Just in general.
So about 7.5 years.
7.5 years
as an agent.
Wow.
And as I say, lots of experience. I worked at 4 different companies in the end.
Okay, and what did you that translated to your business? We'll come on to later. What did you learn from that? You said about negotiation and stuff like that before. So what have you learned that you've took through to sort of everything you do today?
It's definitely that's the main skill that I've transferred across into my business, is the fact that when you want to make an offer and you want to obviously get a property and secure it below market value, which is very much a topic that's a hot topic in property and investing. You want to secure something below market value. That's the main thing I learned, was how to position that so it's favourable to the owner. Because as an estate agent, you sit as that middleman. Yeah. And a lot of people think that agents are working against them, but actually you need to try and work with your agent. Yeah. Because all they need to do is get all the information from your offer. Yep. Present that to their owner in the way in which is going to obviously help their owner in their situation. So you need to kind of work with the agent. And as the agent, I learnt that. So now when I am making offers through agents, I'm always thinking about, right, how can I build the relationship with the agent, be very transparent, ask them, what do we need? What do you need from me so that you can position this offer in the best way?
I was going to ask you something. Again, I'm going to deviate all podcast here, but one thing I found when I've been buying properties that works well, I just want your thoughts on this, is you go to an agent, you see a house, whatever it is, and you put an offer in, and sometimes I find when you try and meet the buyer, you can close the deal quicker. I don't know what your thoughts on that is, but when I've done deals quicker and at better value when I've actually met the buyer directly. It can be luck as well, so it can be when you go in, the vendor's there, and they want to do the viewing for whatever reason they want to do it. Maybe they want people in the house or something, I don't know. But what do you think about that? Because I found I've done better deals and quicker deals by actually meeting with the vendor directly.
I mean, as a property investor, I think it's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the reason agents don't want that to happen is because they don't want. They're worried that somehow you might cut a deal, they'll cut you out, you'll cut the commission out of it, or they're worried that you might say something that will jeopardize the deal, but in reality you're just cutting to the chase, and you're just trying to actually get down to brass tacks and make a deal happen, aren't you? So as a property investor from that standpoint, not as an estate agent, I would always much rather go straight to the owner, because I can have an honest conversation, and I can find out what do they want to get from the for the property, why do they want to sell it, how quickly do they want to move, whereas sometimes that gets a bit blurred through the agent.
Yeah, because they think that, like you said, you're going to cut them out of the deal. Or, I mean, the thing is with that though, it's quite hard to come out of the deal once you've gone through them really legally. I'm assuming you'll know that more than me. If you've gone to an agent, you spoke to them, and you go and see 123 Jerry Street or wherever it is, then you're sort of already in with them anyway. So I mean, I suppose what they're probably worried about is that you're going to jeopardize the deal, like you said. But I suppose if you've got a relationship with an agent like you've got with many, they should know you by now to sort of know you do a good deal. So I suppose the key aspect of that is get good relationships with agents, I'm guessing.
Definitely.
Like you've got,
always.
Okay, cool. So you did that, you've done that, and then you went to the sourcing side of things for yourself. So I think at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, you were still working for the agency and doing a bit of sourcing on the side. So it was a bit of a side hustle. Yes. At the start.
Yeah. So I did another sales role in between, but basically I'm working full time, and then I'm starting sourcing on the side. Yeah. And I'm earning quite well.
Oh God, yeah.
But I really am trying to chase down that goal of being full time in property as an investor, so that I can put more time into growing my own portfolio. So that's why I started sourcing. Okay,
well you've just answered the question I was going to ask, which is great. so when you went from a state agency, so when you were sort of doing it as a side hustle, what challenges did you face in your current job and your sourcing? So what overall challenges, because obviously starting any business is hard, and essentially you were starting a business then. So what were the challenges that you faced into like maybe time, or what was it that you faced?
So the way I think I did loads of things right, and the way I think I did possibly some things wrong is that I'm going from working full time for someone else, having, I guess you could say, the security, if you really want to, of working a full time role.
We'll come on to that. That's a good point you're making there. Well, I need to make a note. Yeah, okay.
But at 28 years old, I'm then deciding to go from working full time to then working for myself. And a lot of people would say that, that's kind of the wrong way around. If you're going to try working for yourself, you should probably do it earlier when, you're doing the risk when you've not got a mortgage, you've not obviously got to a certain point of earnings. So I guess the reason, or the struggles would be natural to anyone that is doing a switch at that point, which is like belief. I guess we all have that as business owners, is, the belief in, can we make this happen? Are we going to be successful in it as well? Will I be disciplined enough now if I take the time away from what I was doing in my business, and then now in the job, and now I put that into my business, which to be fair I absolutely was. If anything, I was too much the other way. I put too much pressure on myself to do well. So the struggles really was just that. It was making that switch over, I would say, and
the leap,
learning business, learning cash flow, and all the struggles that come with business.
So what was it particularly about cash flow that you were struggling with at the time?
That as a business owner, you look at your bank balance, don't you? You go, right, the money that I have is my bank balance. But actually, some months you'll have lots of money coming in, some months you'll have lots of money going out, or some weeks, So, the lessons that you learn quickly, business has a good way of humbling you.
Yeah. Quick lesson from me about that. What I did was, and I've mentioned this before on the channel, by the way, is get management accounts done. I don't know if you do management accounts, you probably do, but get your management accounts in place so you can see month on month what's coming in. You've got your balance sheet, your cash flow forecast, you've got your P&L as well. Get management accounts done, because it literally gives you that snapshot of the business that you can read day 8 or day 9 of each month, and you can sort of see where your business is. So you've just said about cash balance. I used to do that, by the way, where I go, well, there's a lot of cash there, but then you go, well, there's actually a VAT bill to pay. Then there's actually corporation tax accrual that we need to put into the accounts. It's not all your cash, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I'd just say, get to anyone listening to this, get management accounts done, because your accountant can do that, and you can. I think it depends who your accountant is, but you can probably pay like 200 quid a month for the accountant to do that and run through it with you. But if you get that done, then it gives you a snapshot of your business, and you know where you're up to. But what I used to do, I read a book called Profit First by Mike. I'm not going to try and pronounce his second name, but Profit First, Mike, put that into Amazon, you'll find it. And basically, he said create multiple bank accounts with like a profit account, an OPEX account, a corporate tax account. And that's great. I call it like the biscuit tin approach. You've got multiple tins knocking around with different bits of money in. And that's great if it's really small. But it's a bit of an admin headache. So I would just say to them, get management accounts done, because it will give you that snapshot of your business.
Yeah, the profit and loss at the end of the month I do religiously now.
Use Xero?
I use QuickBooks.
QuickBooks, yeah. So you do that religiously. But again, if you're bringing in more money to your business and you're getting bigger and you've got more staff, and when you start growing, you need management accounts, because it'll give you not just the P&L, but it'll give you the balance sheet snapshot as well, and give you actually what your total share of those funds is. And again, that's cool. So, buy-to-let strategy then. So, how did you get started with the buy-to-let properties? Obviously, we're going away from a little bit from sourcing now. How long did you do the sourcing for? Just before we move on to that, actually, how long was that for?
So I've done sourcing for 3 years now, whereas I've been a property investor for about 5 years.
Okay.
Now. So I started.
So you started that before. So we're flipping a bit back to front here. That's fine. Yeah. So you got the buy-to-lets. You started that through the estate agency. So did you get your first buy-to-let when you were working there?
Yeah, when I was working, got the first buy-to-let. Basically, long story short, and I have told this before, but I think it was a real pivotal moment for me. I'm working as an estate agent. It's like a nice, sunny Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. I'm running around like a headless chicken, because an estate agent, it's kind of a simple role in terms of like you're not solving high-level problems, but you have a lot of tasks to do. Like it's a busy job, a lot of stress, pressure.
Yeah.
I'm running around like a headless chicken, working 5-6 days a week most weeks, and then this guy rocks up, really nice Range Rover, really casually, looks like he's living the dream, and I'm like, what does this guy do? He doesn't look much older than me. So I proceed to spend the next 30 minutes on this viewing. Rather than showing the guy around, I basically just picked his brain on what do you do, and it turns out he was a property investor. So.
Wow.
That was really, yes, I've sold buy-to-lets to people in my journey, but I hadn't really paid attention to that. I've been really blind to it. Whereas now that's like completely opened up that opportunity to me.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, right, I need to be this guy. And that was my vision. I'm going to be Justin Wilkins, the property investor with the Range Rover. That was the first vision, right?
Yeah.
And with time freedom. So then it was, right, how do I get the money? Then I'm going to start buying buy-to-lets. And I literally thought it was as simple as that. I buy a property, I rent it out, then I save the next bit, and I go from there.
Brilliant. So, okay, so that's the reasoning behind it then. So we've gone from estate agent to sourcing to get the cash in. Obviously, you've done a little bit of buy-to-let before because you had a bit of cash, which is great. So when you selected your first ever investment, you can talk through it if you want, by the way, I'm really interested. What was your criteria? And just one additional question to that. Has it changed going forward as well?
Yeah, massively changed. Definitely changed. So obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm like near Brighton. And obviously, for my first investment, I've made that decision to come to Liverpool, because I thought it was a great opportunity here.
Yeah.
That first investment was a turnkey buy-to-let. So it's simply buying something which I felt was near enough ready to go.
Vanilla as you get.
Literally.
Yeah.
I think we spent like £300 in terms of works.
That's good.
So like nothing at all, just to turn it around.
Do you know the numbers of the deal? Everyone loves numbers. Do you want to talk
definitely.
The numbers?
So paid 58,000 for it. It was on the market for 70. It had fallen through.
What area?
L4. So
Anfield?
near the Everton Stadium.
Okay, yeah.
And
58k, yeah.
58,000. It was on the market for 70. It had fallen through. I basically helped this lady save her chain and got it for what I felt was a good price. It was a large 2-bedroom property and a large 2-bedroom terraced, and bought it for 58,000 and just purchased it and rented it for 525 in
back then
2019.
Okay, so you said 58 grand, like 20% down, 25% down.
20%, so an 80% loan to value mortgage back then.
Yeah, my first one was that as well, actually. And interest rate, do you remember the first one?
I do, yeah, because it was really good. It was like, really good for now, I would say. So it's like 3.5%, I think it was.
Very similar numbers to my first property this year as well, around the same time. I'll go through that as well. But okay, so you've done that, 525 a month, which is good rent back then. So 2019, yeah?
2019, yeah.
So what's the yield on that, roughly? 10-ish?
It was, around the time it was around, I think I worked it out to be about 10 point something.
Okay. And have you refinanced that yet or not?
Yeah, so that property, it's been like, so let me just, a bit more context on that. Like, I felt after I bought that, I was like, I started seeing all these people on social media doing the BRR strategy. I was like, I've failed.
Have you missed an R there?
Sorry,
you've got to get all the R's in. I can't do it. By the way,
different R's.
You're the specialist, my friend.
But I'm seeing all these people doing buy, refurbish, refinance. I've missed a trick. I've done something wrong. I've not been a very good investor. But actually, that was just a really solid turnkey investment.
Absolutely.
It's rented really well.
Yeah.
Ever since then, it's gone up. Over £30,000 in value, and I haven't spent any more money on that property.
So as I said, where you think roughly it's worth about 90k today?
About 95 to 100.
All right, so it's nearly doubled then.
Yeah, it's really good value, and that's confirmed by a valuer.
Yeah.
And so now it rents for just under 700.
So you've gone in. So when did you refinance it?
It was beginning of this year, like earlier this year.
And you took what you take about 30k out of it?
Yes. Yeah,
give or take. Yeah,
I'm actually in the process of selling that one or completing on that one, but I did refinance it to release some cash, decided to sell that property because what I want to do is further release the equity in that property to reinvest into other parts of my portfolio.
And why would you want to do that?
Because I see that in your journey that you're going to buy, for every 5 or 10 properties that you buy, you are going to hopefully keep as many of them as possible. But there are going to be some that you lose along the way in order to buy either bigger or better investments.
Sure.
And at times you need to decide which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to lose. But I think that you need to reallocate equity sometimes to make bigger decisions for the portfolio. And that one is a good renter and it makes money, but I think if I reallocate that money, I can obviously do more profitable deals and move into markets that I want to that I'm currently missing.
Yeah, cool. That's really good. So you've done really well on that then. What was the current rent? Sorry, did you say 700?
Yeah, it's just under 700, 675.
Yeah, so the one I bought was Liverpool 13, which is Old Swan. But where it is actually, anyone who's watching the podcast that knows Liverpool, and you probably know as well as me now, to be fair. And I'm a local, so well done you. But it's off Edge Lane, which is the big road going into Liverpool from the M62.
Yeah.
So I bought one there in, I think it's about 2019, year after I got married, 55k. Spent 5 on it. So spent a bit more than you, put a new kitchen in. My friend Steve, shout out to Steve, put a kitchen in for me. He now doesn't do joinery though because he's not very good at it. He just has a building company because he's clever about it. He's good at project managing. Sorry, Steve. So spent $5,000 on it. And then back then I was renting for 475, so a bit less than you actually. But now it's renting for currently 750, and I haven't refinanced it actually, but it's where they're going down the road about 105 grand now.
Yeah,
so it's done really well. And the reason I bought it, good to give you good context on yours why you bought it there, but the reason I bought it was where the property is, there's a big retail park on Edge Lane. It's got like a Nike store and it's massive. So I thought, well, there's probably going to be a lot of jobs there, and it's got good links into Liverpool, good bus links, rail links, not too bad, wage stations behind it, and obviously you're up to the 62 and there's hospitals around there. So they're the reasons I bought it. And to be fair, listen, no one's got a crystal ball, have they? It's a bit of luck as well as, if you're in it for the long term, it's great, but doubling in 5 years is pretty decent, to be fair.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But what I'm saying, it's probably a bit of luck as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, very similar deals. Why did you buy by Everton's grounds? Just out of interest. What was was it just a yield or something about the area or
combination things? In all honesty, I wasn't going to view that house. I was coming up here, a day full of viewings, and I had a couple of cancellations. And one of the agents that had cancelled another viewing, there was this house, because it had fallen through and it was just coming back on. And I thought, you know what, I'll just chuck it in the morning, keep me busy.
Yeah.
And I went there, and actually, funny you talk about meeting the owner. I met the owner at the property, and I just got an insight into her motivation due to her recent fall through and her wanting to move. And I got a gauge of where she might sell at. So,
did you agree to deal with her there?
Not there and then in terms of actually finalise the price, but we had a really good chat where we were kind of getting to the point of numbers. And
Did she like you as well?
Well, I think so.
Well, that's what I mean. Normally that helps, that sort of stuff. So if you're quite likeable as a character, they're normally going to want to sell to you as well. Yeah.
So, we had a really good conversation, really transparent as to my intentions, her intentions, and we didn't strike the deal, but we did very shortly after that because I could see the potential in the house from meeting her. And in terms of the area, I felt that I wanted to invest in maybe L13 or L6. They were the areas that I'd gone to try and find it, or L15. But I'd obviously naturally put this one in, and I actually thought, look, this is a little bit more of a risky area. It's a bit more up and coming.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I could see the potential with it, and I think with some of these areas, it's a part of it's kind of like looking at what the future potential could be, as well as the kind of analysis now.
Yeah,
it's looking at what it could be in the future as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So
no, I love it. I've got questions here on screen. Everyone's watching. I'm just not reading them at all because I'm having a good conversation here. But I will come back to them because there are some key points. But I'm going to stay on topic of actually areas that in Liverpool, because I know you're the Liverpool property expert. One thing of PropertyX, by the way, obviously that's Justin's company. For everyone who doesn't know, we will come on to that. I think you need to do a sales negotiation course in there if you haven't got one in your community. If you've not got one, I think in what you've just said, you should definitely build one, because I think we do.
Well, we've got a negotiation one, and
Brilliant.
we are building a sales one. We've got a mindset one as well, because I think actually they are the parts that most people aren't covering in property, but probably the bits where you can make most of your money in property.
Is sales negotiation and mindset.
Yeah.
Why mindset?
I think people come in with the wrong attitude towards property. It's always around what money do I have?
Yeah.
And how can I save money, whereas they need to think a little bit bigger, need to think beyond kind of what the capital they currently have, and actually think more about how can they be resourceful. So we have to kind of break beliefs a lot, and that's why we often start with mindset. We break their beliefs, we make them think a bit bigger, and then actually that's why a lot of guys that I work with, they might want to get 1 or 2, and they often end the year with 3 or 4. Because that comes down to the mindset, because you can often find that, and I get 2 people, right? I get someone who's got 100 grand, and I've got someone who's got 10 grand. The person with £100,000 will often not go as far as the person with 10,000, because they have the capital, and they get lazy because of that. They think, well, I've got 100, I don't need to learn as much because I could go out and buy 2 houses easily. Whereas the person with 10 is thinking, I haven't got enough money to buy 1.
So what do I do?
I need to learn how to find good deals. I need to learn how to raise money or find joint ventures. And actually, they go a lot further because they have to learn the skills. So
it's an interesting point, that actually.
That's why I find it's a really important topic.
That's really interesting because I was going to ask you about actually how do you go about it, which you've covered, and obviously join the PropertyX community if you want to know more. Shameless plug there, sorry. I was going to ask you about that. Sort of how do you go and find deals? I think from my perspective, listen, not everyone can be a business owner, start a trading business, but for me, my experience of, I think we mentioned before, we jumped on about flipping a property put me off just because I put too much work into it. It's my fault, but I made money on it, but spent too much time on it, did too much of the work myself. It wasn't to the best of the standard in the end because it was me doing it, because I can hardly wire a plug, let alone renovate a house myself, to be honest with you. So, it's having a good team around you as well and anything. But I think really, if you're going to go on a property journey, you've got to look at it a couple of ways. Either you're going to go down the PropertyX way and really understand how to do JVs, understand how to do BRRR, BRRR basically. So understand the nuances that you obviously teach to your community, or go and build a business, because the business can then but that's what I've done basically, is build a business which can then produce the capital which you can then invest in property. And I'm probably you explained 2 investors there, the 10 grand, the 100 grand. I'm probably the lazy latter one, to be totally honest with you, because I'd rather spend my time building trading businesses that can then pay for the properties, which I think is still a viable strategy, by the way.
Massively.
Absolutely. But, we won't go into that too much today, but it'd be interesting to know from you, if I've got 10 grand or 10 grand or less today, what would be the first thing, apart from sign up to PropertyX, of course, but what would be this first thing you would do as a if you want to build a portfolio of 5, 10, 15 or whatever your goal is?
So just quickly on the 100 grand thing, last night I did a presentation at one of our events, and I actually covered the fact that, for those people looking to be successful and looking at successful investors that I've met as well, most of them have a cash flow business alongside other things they do.
These are the 100 granders we're talking about here.
Like other investors, in terms of people I meet with, the investors that you see on social media that are doing 10 property deals a year. They are really good at finding deals. They're really good at getting joint venture partners, raising money. But a lot of them often have cash flow businesses as well. Right. So I think what you're saying there is really important. Like, if you can create some form of cash flow, it does make life a lot easier, because, you know, if you could 2x your income right now, makes buying property a lot easier.
Yeah, of course.
So just to start on that one,
absolutely.
Going back to the £10,000 person, the most important skill by far for anyone to learn, in my opinion, is the art of finding a good deal and the art of negotiation, because everything stems off of that, in my opinion. Okay, whether you decide to become a deal sourcer, whether you decide to do, you know, the BRR strategy to buy to lets, HMOs, whatever it is, you need to fundamentally learn how to find a great deal. Whether that's off market, whether that's through agents, and whether that's however you go about finding and securing that below market value. Everything stems from that. So if you've got £10,000, you want to start with learning what that looks like. And then you need to decide what route you're going to take. Because obviously you're either going to buy them for yourself, in which you need to find a joint venture partner. You need to raise money to do it. Or you're going to need to think about selling them on to another investor to get some cash in, or working with a company like PropertyX, another sourcer, where perhaps you can split the fee, get access to our investors, and we'll sell it for you.
Brilliant. That's really good information, I think, for everyone watching this. So thank you for that. And then you've moved into training others in property investments, just for the camera, PropertyX. And I suppose really, what inspired you to create an online community? So why did you want to do it? And what do you want to achieve? Not just for you, but obviously it's about the community, isn't it? Of course it is. So what do you want to achieve from it?
Yeah, so PropertyX, two things. So first and foremost, like, the main part of the business is sourcing. We're a sourcing business. And then we have the training arm of the business. The reason I started that is because when I started in property, I was like, right, I'm an estate agent, want to learn about property. And I've gone on to the resources that I would use to learn about property, which is something like YouTube. I've gone on there to search how to do property investing. This is like 2018. And I think there's nothing on here, or perhaps there's a couple of older looking chaps who are, you know, a bit tired of the game. They're talking about landlord regulations, and I'm thinking, this is terrible, this is boring. Whereas other industries have got exciting YouTubers, they've got lots of information. So I thought, right, I'm young, so when I learn about this, yes, I'll be new to it, but I am going to share information on this, because I found it hard to learn about buy-to-let property. So that was when I did buy my first one, 2019. I then started documenting it. So it started there, really. I started doing YouTube videos. And I guess I've done that ever since. Off the back of that, getting views, people saying, like, could you put together like events and community and a group in which we can join? So that's how it started. And quite innocently just put that together. In actual fact, what you do find is that it's actually been really, like, beneficial, because when you actually put a group of people together, and when you have to teach something to someone, you actually find you have to know it at a higher level. And you learn it, and you're able to understand it at a higher level in order to teach it to someone who's a step behind you. And we build really, like, great groups. So we have certain criteria of people that we want in our group, and these guys are like, you know, we did the event in Manchester last night, like, they love coming to our events. It's you know, we're kind of, a lot of us are kind of past the age of, like, you know, going out clubbing on a Friday night. Sadly, you know, we've sort of probably done too many of those nights. So now we look forward to going to, you know, these events. These are our nights out now, where we go to events, we see other sad property investors like ourselves. We can talk the night away about
like-minded people, you mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. We can talk the night away about property, and that is our idea of a good night. And these guys are saying that last night. They just love to be able to come and have a space, a safe space, I think, where there aren't arrogant people. Not everyone's trying to. There's no egos in the room. People aren't trying to level each other, try to outdo each other. It's more the sense of, like, actually people are just trying to have a good chat.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Push each other along.
So how many members do you have currently?
At the moment, we're just about 70.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so we try to keep it within our, fairly close-knit group, because then when we put events on in London or Manchester, for example, we normally get like 30 to 40 people in a room.
Yeah. And you're going to come to Liverpool?
Well, we might do, yeah. It's on the cards, I say. I would say. I love Liverpool, you know that.
I know. So. Listen, yeah, of course. And there's a lot of property people in Liverpool. Hopefully, a lot of people watching this and watching you. So I think Liverpool would love to have you, not just as an investor, but also the community as well. So if we can move on to property forecast then. So listen, no one's got a crystal ball. So I know you're going to tell me, I don't know, but this is what I think. Because I think anyone that says, I know where it's going is, I was going to use the word charlatan. I will use the word charlatan. That's fine. Anyone's going to tell you where it is in 5 years, doesn't know. But we can make guesses based on the property 18-year property cycle, which is something I definitely look at. But where do you see it heading in the next 5 years? And, you know, what specific changes, trends, anything in terms of regulation potentially as well. So just an overall 5-year forecast, if you can give us one.
Yeah, so like my forecast where we're currently at is that we are in for more growth. We're in for a positive period ahead. And if you look at other resources out there, I guess like companies that do reports, for example, give you one like the Savills 5-year, you know, growth report. You can't obviously bank off of those, but they're very much giving positive reports on the fact that they're seeing in certain areas 20-25% growth in the larger parts of the UK where they think there's going to be lots of growth in property investment. I think the same. I think we are in for a few more years of growth. I do think within a 5-6 year window there will be a harder period of time at the end of that, but I think we'll see in the short term we'll potentially see interest rates still slowly come down, not quickly, but slowly ease off. Never get back to maybe where we had them in the really good times.
I mean, I think, and again, someone can call me up and if I'm wrong, but I think like the average interest rate in the UK over like a very long period is around about 4 or 5% anyway. I think that's sort of like average. Obviously, back in '92, I think they spiked around 12-13% because I think that's when we came off a peg with the dollar, if I'm not mistaken, and I think basically the pound dropped like a stone. And then we had to increase interest rates. So foreign direct investment will come in and buy your pounds because you're getting more return on your pound. So again, I'm only going off because that's what my parents said. I think they said like our mortgage went to like 13% in like 92 when you were like 1. And I was like, wow. But I can't. It'd be great if it went down to 0.5% again. But the only thing I would caution that is we've seen the inflation that we've had. Which is good for property owners, by the way, because it's eroding the value of your debt, of course, isn't it? But I think I tend to agree with you. Again, anyone that watches this and will probably know about the 18-year property cycle and what it does, and without going into that in too much depth, I'm inclined to agree. I think we'll have a good few years, then maybe we're due a bit of a crash, I think.
It's good and bad as a property owner, isn't it? Because if it's always going up, you think, great, the properties I own are going up. But then it's inevitably, it's always making it harder to get into property.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I would class you as a property expert and I'd class me as a property investor. And there's two key differences there, I think, as well. But as a property investor, I think as long as you're not buying in the peak and you're not refinancing the peak, you're probably going to be okay. And also, number two, as long as you're investing for the long term, you don't need to sell within sort of a 2-5, maybe even a 10-year period. I think you'll be okay long term anyway.
It's always playing that long term game, and this is a term that's always thrown around a lot in property. It's time in the market, not timing the market. Because trying to time the market around whether it's going up or down is a fool's game. It's really hard to do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and again, that's when I know. Do you do anything on flips in the community? Or is it mainly investing?
We do flips. Yeah. Flips, trades, sourcing.
So I suppose the only thing with flips in a downturn is you'll be very careful when you buy, especially if you're doing a lot. The builders I mentioned before, SNL building contractors who I've worked with, they've got a couple of big projects on the go at the minute, which are like sort of like £1 million projects. Might be small, some people watching this, but it's probably a lot bigger than a lot of people watching. And if you buy them sort of projects at the wrong time, if the credit crunch happens again, no one's going to buy it because you can't lend. I mean, which is obviously a key component of property. Most people need to be able to to borrow money to be able to to go and buy these £500,000, £1 million properties. So I think definitely a flips, you've got to be a little bit more careful. Would you agree in terms of when you're buying with the cycle?
Yeah, that's the only one where I'd say that still try not to time the market because then you'll sit there and you'll never do a flip. But certainly if we were to start to tip down into what looks like a worse economy, I would then probably be a bit more hesitant to start doing flips if we're looking to go into recession because you're really in a flip for like a good time, aren't you? Like 6 to 9 months normally.
Yeah, at least. And I think the main thing with me, just sort of my business brain and economics brain, is when the banks start lending, that's probably when you need to start worrying a little bit, if that makes sense. If you're going to stop lending, that's when the property market's going to slow. Again, you said you started in the estate agency in 2009. The completion rate on properties, or like the volume of property being sold must have been horrendously low back then, because the banks were not lending money to people. And I think if we get that again, where they start really, because at the minute, from what I can see, and I don't know if you can see, they are still lending. People can still borrow money. Albeit, maybe 4.5% at the minute, which is what it is. But I would say if they stop lending money, that's when you need to start, not panic as such. You never should panic, should you? But you should start really assessing whether you should be jumping straight into the market then, and just pull back. Maybe go to one of your events, and I'm sure you'll be speaking about all this when it happens anyway, and do that. But can you tell? Obviously, we've gone through one deal. Was that your most profitable deal? I'm going to say no. The first one? No. Okay. So can you tell us what your most profitable deal?
I would say, most typically it's been like, I've done a couple of flips, I would say, that are more profitable. I would say that when I think about my most profitable deals, actually, I'll say, let me frame it like this, right? I've done a few flips, which ultimately might have made me quite quick money, like 25k here, 35k there, and they probably are more profitable.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy those because you get kind of like adrenaline rush, a buzz from doing them. But then ultimately, when I think about it, the ones that were the easiest ways of making money are the ones that I've probably held on to for the longest.
Yeah.
And have been in my portfolio the longest.
The first property, for example.
Like that one was easy because I bought it, have done the initial bit of work, I've rented it out, and then it's just kind of sat and done its thing.
Yeah.
I did a BRR after that where I purchased it, did the full process. At the time, I was like, okay, it's not a bad BRR.
Yeah.
Left £13,000 in after refinance.
Oh, really?
So I did the full process, right? This one wasn't the best one on paper.
Well, let's go through it, because you've left 13 grand in the deal. That's a really good deal still.
That's not too bad, yeah. So again, bought that one off market, direct to vendor, paid, what did I pay? 50,000.
Yeah.
Roughly 17,000 on the refurb.
Yeah.
And then it was worth 80 to 85. I can't remember which one it was now. In 2021, this was.
Right.
Refinanced it. Left about 13,000-ish in the deal.
Once you took your money out?
Yes. Yeah. So after I refinanced. At the time, I was like, that was okay. But now looking back, it wasn't bad as a first BRR.
No,
if you left just the 13,000 in, you've got the rest of the money back. But again, that one now worth like 100. So you've done all of that, you've got your money back. Yeah. It's now worth that. So that one's sat and done its thing. It's rented, it's profited, and it's gone up. So it's quite often when you look back on deals like that, where the longer you can own something, then profits, it makes you monthly money, and it goes up in value. They're the better deals, really.
Yeah.
Because I do like doing flips. I like getting that quick cash. I like building up my war chest that allows me to make future moves. But it's the portfolio, which is obviously just ticking away at all times, which you're not having to work hard to do anything for ultimately.
Yeah. So the most profitable deal then, was that BRR or was that a flip, do you say?
It would be a flip.
Okay.
I've also done some trades. I don't know if you want me to go into any of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, because I shared a case study on one last night where I've recently done a trade where I secured the property at a heavy discount.
Yeah.
And I was able to sell that on for very quick profit. And I guess the main purpose of telling the story here is that the property is probably worth about £80,000.
Okay.
Needing a refurb.
Yeah.
It's worth about 80 in the current state, probably worth about 130 at the end.
What sort of property was it?
It's a terrace property.
Okay. Two beds, 3 beds?
Yeah, 2 bedrooms, end of terraced. Very good, like little renter, be perfect for it as an
Normally
investment.
bigger the end of terrace, aren't they? A little bit bigger. Yeah.
And basically, if the owner had put it on the market, £80,000, I'd have said he'd have put it on for it. He had valuations at that level. I've got a direct vendor contact with him, so I do letters and I try to obviously get these connections before they get to the agents.
Yeah.
He'd said he wanted about 70,000.
Okay.
I'd then put in a low, obviously lowballing a little bit to say, look, the house is in need of refurb.
Yeah.
You've had some tenancy problems. I'll offer you 62. Secured it at 62 without seeing it.
Right.
Then actually went and viewed it.
Okay.
And then did my kind of what I call the PropertyX or renegotiation strategy, or what I do as a renegotiation strategy, and that is assessing the condition of the property.
Yeah.
doing a really well copywritten email and a structure to it, presenting the problems of the property, and then we renegotiated that down to 52,000.
And he agreed.
So then I have a few options at that point. Depends how many projects I've got on the go.
Yeah.
But that property I then took on 52,000. I then sold it on to another investor for 66,000.
Okay, so you just make essentially the trade, because I wasn't too sure what you meant by trade, and now I do know what you mean. So you've essentially made manage your fees. What did you come out with? About 10 grand, maybe something like that.
It's about 13.5.
Well, you come out with that much, did you?
Yeah,
okay,
because the way it was structured is I didn't pay stamp duty.
Right, and why is that?
Because you buy it and you sell it on the same day.
Right,
so
that's interesting. I didn't know that. So if you buy and sell a property on the same day, you pay 0 stamp duty whatsoever.
Correct. Yes.
Very
so
clever.
known as a back-to-back.
Wow, that's a good bit of value. I didn't know that.
So that's a good one. So I've done a few like that over the years, and it's like how I used to structure them, and I still will buy some like this. Is I'll there's been one, for example, I did another one where I bought it for what I paid for 65, and I sold it for 90 with no refurb. But I completed on that one, and I had to use investor finance on that one. So then I'd have made £25,000, but once I, took off all my fees and, I was ended up with about 15,000. Yeah. So, I did a few trades like that and I thought, these are great. But then once I realized there are other strategies and other methods to doing it, you suddenly realize, kind of what you were missing out on.
Yeah.
Again, it all comes down to what you don't know. And there was information I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
That if I was aware of, I'd have been able to structure them differently, make more money from them. And so I guess I do not a lot of different strategies, but I see a lot of opportunity, and I'll put them into the strategy that fits with me at the time. Yeah,
no, it's really one thing you mentioned that I just want to pick up on and give my experience. So you said about you didn't go and view the property, but you did. You
Yeah.
So maybe I'm either lazy or resourceful. Anyone who's watching this can listen to this. So property I bought recently in Widnes, and on those Widnes, it's in between Liverpool and Manchester, basically about 30 minutes to Liverpool. Maybe same to Manchester, actually. I use something called Vuber, which you'll probably know. Okay. So use Vuber, pay someone 30, 40 quid. They go and look at the property. I did it. And bearing in mind, this is half an hour from my house, but I had too much on. Used it. Someone viewed it. Give me like a little report, not like a home buyer's report, just like, there's a bit of damp there, a bit of damp here, like a non-expert report, made an offer on the property. Bought or I've never been to the property. I've just never been. Yeah. So I sent my surveyor in, home buyers. He went, this needs doing. I went, fine, get it done. And I'd just never been. So I think really for a lot of people watching this, obviously Justin's based down in Brighton. Obviously we're doing this in Liverpool today. And just invested in Liverpool. You can use stuff like Vuber or the other platforms maybe you can share. I don't know. To actually people to go and view properties, but you don't actually have to go and view the property potentially. I mean, I don't know if you'd recommend. You might not recommend that. It's worked out right for me, but you might not recommend that. But just from you saying you didn't go and look at the property, I've done the exact same thing. Just because I don't think it's a good use of my time. I think my time's better spent elsewhere. So I just want your thoughts on that. Really.
No, exactly. Like ultimately, if you can view it, great. But if for the majority of us, we're not surveyors, so we think we know what we're going to look at. Yeah. We don't really.
No,
you stand in the property, you can take photos, you can look at the walls, and you go, "Oh, well, this is nice."
Well, you take your father-in-law with you who thinks he's a surveyor and goes, "Oh, that'll be all right. I'll do that," and then it all goes wrong.
You can tap the plaster.
Yeah.
Do your usual, but ultimately, you need to look at it from a high level point of view in terms of what you need to actually just understand the fundamentals of what does the refurb look like, what do the numbers look like on this, and that can quite often, more often than not, that can be done from behind a desk if you don't have to be the person to go and view that. So it could be Vuber, it could be sending someone from your network to go and view it on your behalf. You just need really good quality, like video walkthrough, photographs, send a build around, survey around, and actually, 99% of that job is done without you even seeing it, I would say. So I'd agree with
Google
that.
Maps is a good one.
Google Maps, it's great. You can be a detective online now, can't you?
Oh, absolutely,
you can do so much. So
okay, so hot areas to buy. You can either go cities, towns, specific areas. It's entirely up to you. So, which areas do you believe the hottest in the UK? Obviously, there's a lot of pressure from me because we're in Liverpool here. Pressurise your answer. No, I'm only joking. No, seriously, which areas do you think, if you had to give say a top three in terms of capital appreciation yield? I try and go for a bit of a mixture of both. I know that's not always achievable, but I try and mix the two if you can. And you've done it with you one in near Everton's ground. I've done it in Old Swan. So it's proven it can be done. So top 3 places in the UK as of today.
So obviously, I will start there. We will talk about Liverpool. I came here because I was looking between a few different areas, and I the way that I got to Liverpool, in my mind, even though I was down in Brighton, is because Brighton's very expensive.
Yeah, of course.
I was thinking about capital, and I had very little of it.
Yeah.
But I looked at Manchester. I saw the growth in the city itself, and that was kind of between like 2015 and 2018.
Yeah.
And I thought, Liverpool is a fantastic city, it's going through that same growth trajectory. It's just a couple of years behind. That was my opinion on it.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a very different place from Manchester, but it has a lot of the same fundamentals as well. So
in terms of
like the way that connections to London, in terms of like businesses coming here, in terms of the amount of money being pumped into it, high-rise buildings going up, everything really. So I was like, I think it's got the same trajectory. It's just a couple of years behind. Yeah. So that's why I decided to invest here. Yeah. I still believe in it to this day. So I would absolutely say, Liverpool's on that list.
Yeah.
I would actually say, and I've done a bit of investing as well. It's not necessarily a city, but I like St Helens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Craig, who works for me, lives in St Helens, so he'll be made up. He'll be watching this. I'll make sure he watches it now. You love St Helens. It's great.
Yeah.
So go on, why?
So again, it's very much obviously an area that I think is going to see more growth and more potential as they make improvements and they do the regeneration projects and what have you. Actually, when you're saying to me then, what are your best deals? And I'm thinking, God, what are my best deals?
Yeah.
I immediately go into like, what flips have I done? Because then people can relate to the profits. Actually, some of my best deals are probably the ones I've done at St Helens, where I've done BRR projects.
Yeah.
There's been a couple where I've got all my money back out.
Wow.
And one in particular where all my money back out plus 2,000. So like,
and you still got it now,
yeah. So it's like, I think actually, when I look at St Helens, I think there's some really good buy-to-let opportunities there, and the numbers aren't dissimilar to Liverpool in terms of like rental figures.
Yeah.
And yet purchase prices can sometimes be a bit easier to get down.
Yeah.
End values are still there. And I'm probably giving all away little secrets now. So
yeah, leave it. You need to sign up first. There's too many secrets. Calm down. No, please do. Go on.
But no, I think it's a great place that people should look because I've got many investments there. Many of our clients have got investments in St Helens, so that's another one. And then most recently, and not in the northwest, is South Wales. South Wales has got massive opportunity right now.
Yeah, I've got friends there. Yeah.
And
why is that?
The way in which you can, there's just cookie cutter model right now, and the way in which there are 60 and 70 grand houses, terrace properties that are 3 and 4 bedrooms in need of refurbs on the same street that there are houses that are selling for 130.
It's crazy.
Makes the buy refurb refinance strategy so easy, or flipping very easy, obviously, as well.
Of course.
And yes, it doesn't mean you can just pick them up just with a click of the fingers. You still have to put in the work, but it's certainly, there's a lot of opportunity there in the sense that you can repeat this model very easily there, but also because there's some very nice areas, the rental demand's incredibly good, and the predicted growth there is incredibly good as well.
Why is rental demand good?
It's to do with the areas that we focus on. Okay. So the areas that we focus on as a business are within like 20-30 minute drive to 2 of the main towns in South Wales.
Right.
So we are quite strategic with where we do it. But it's because the towns, the rental's crazy, so then people are willing to drive 20-30 minutes to these nearby like villages, and then we help people invest in those kind of areas.
Brilliant. So I take you get to know them towns if you're doing PropertyX.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's fine.
No, I can tell you that obviously the main cities we're investing near to is Newport and Cardiff.
Right, I was going to say Swansea just as a guess.
Well, Swansea's a good one as well. But Newport and Cardiff is where like there's so many jobs and so much going on. And what we do is then go, right, that's where all the money is, all the businesses are. So what areas are close to those areas, and Swansea as well, in which there's still well-priced property and investments, and that obviously is what drives the growth in property prices and the rental demand.
Cool. Okay, so hottest areas, South Wales, Liverpool. Is there one more? You got one more for us?
What, and St Helens?
St Helens is Merseyside. It's not Liverpool. So I'm trying to get one more out.
Okay. I do like West Yorkshire a lot.
Okay.
I think that kind of the triangle which is between Bradford, Leeds, and Wakefield, kind of this cluster of like towns and villages there. Is very good, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there still. Really good.
Leeds is also a great city as well. I think Leeds is fantastic. I've liked Leeds. I went to mates used to go to uni there, and I remember going to uni there and just having the best night out ever. And that's what's attracted me to Leeds. But apart from that, they've also got one big football team there as well. They've got a lot of business in Leeds as well, which I didn't really realise till I started working. I went, wow, Leeds got a lot of business. You just don't. I just didn't think of it that way. A bit like Leeds is actually very similar to Manchester as a city.
Yes.
It's very, very commercial, and it's got great restaurants and great people. So Leeds is good.
I'm very lucky. I travel a lot with this job. And that's one thing I see is the trends between cities, and exactly what you said there is Leeds has a very similar feel to Manchester in terms of the growth.
Well, I don't know Scotland too well for property, but I know the city well. Glasgow is very similar to Liverpool as a city. So again, there's a few more regulations in Scotland which we won't go on to today, which would probably stop me investing there. But in terms of like Glasgow is very similar to cities. Liverpool, like really good people, but more of a working class city, but really good people, good values. I'm not saying Leeds and Manchester aren't bad if anyone watching, but I'm just making similarities. So it's interesting when you go around the UK, isn't it? Like I've done over the years as well, and you see different cities and what they are.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting part of your job.
Yeah, and we were saying earlier, actually, the people of Liverpool they love Liverpool. They are the biggest fans.
Well, you can tell me, can't you?
Yeah,
absolutely.
which is great. We love it.
Yeah.
Because we don't always feel it when we're down near Brighton. No. People aren't fans of Brighton.
Oh, they're not?
Not really.
Yeah, you'd find it very hard to find a scout saying they didn't like Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because they'd probably be lynched anyway, to be honest, if they said that as well. So even if they thought that, not allowed to say it. But no, genuinely, I'd find it very hard. Whether you're Liverpool, Everton fan, football-wise, and it's obviously a massive footballing city as well, like footballs, everything. Like everyone in Liverpool plays football.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, I played. There's not many, I don't know. Everyone plays football in the city.
Yeah.
Again, we're going off property a bit here, but it's good to understand sort of cities' cultures and stuff.
100%.
Obviously, a big music culture as well.
Yeah.
So I've got a mate actually sticking to property, and I don't know what you think about this. I've got a mate who bought a flat. Dave, shout out to you here, by the way, but he bought a flat many years ago. He's still got it now, and he does Airbnb. And where his Airbnb is, Prince's Dock, if you know it, which is where the live building is further down, and that's where Everton's new stadium's being built on the Dock Road. And even before that, it's done incredibly well, because obviously a lot of fans go over for Liverpool games, like from abroad, but I think for Everton as well, it'll do really well. So I suppose a question I wasn't going to ask, but we'll ask, what's your thoughts on service accommodation as a strategy?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Whether it's rent to rent, or you're actually buying, to rent out to people. What do you think?
I mean, it's a fantastic cash flow strategy.
Yeah,
I think it offers a lot of flexibility with the property. I've got several friends in Liverpool who have converted their buy-to-lets into service accommodation. Yeah. A few of which have converted some back.
Right, that'd be interesting to know why.
And I think due to demand.
Okay.
As in like occupancy rates and what have you. No, I mean, I think it's a brilliant strategy. The only reason I just haven't entertained it at all for my portfolio is I think people just need to really understand what they want out of property.
Yes.
And for me, so I think the perfect property business is having some form of like input of cash and then some form of investment. Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, you're great because you've got you've got cash flowing businesses and you've got your investments. For me, I'm like, right, sourcing business that brings in cash, and then I'm quite happy for my investment business to be quite hands off because of that. Because my business is quite hands on.
I'm the exact same, by the way. Yeah.
So I think service accommodation is great. I just don't necessarily want my investment business to get too hands on.
Well, I suppose a service accommodation business could potentially become a trading business in a sense, is what you're saying. Yeah. So in terms of the actual time that you put into it, checking tenants in, checking out, you'd have to have really good say you've got 10 or 20 of them, you'd have to have really good systems and processes and a team.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be working too much in that business, is that what you sort of
Correct.
saying?
Yeah. Rather than turn it into another active
another job.
I want it to be, quite. Yeah.
It's like HMOs as well. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on HMOs, but I suppose is that a similar vein with HMOs?
Somewhat. I think they are slightly easier to keep hands off in the sense that you can obviously, a lot of agents now will take them on, and depending what route you go down, social housing ones are obviously very hands off. Professional ones, you could get a letting agent for that. Student ones are they hands off? They're more hands off until a certain period of time in the year. But
I think the student ones could be good. And again, I just full disclosure, I don't have an HMOs because I'm probably a bit too vanilla at the minute. Like I say, because of cash flow business. But I think if I was looking to do a HMO, maybe students are two things with students. One, I think they could be quite good if you get paid up front, because obviously they get their big cash. They get like cash 3 times a year, if I remember rightly, as a student. So maybe you could get a bit up front, or guarantor. Definitely, you'd need with students. But also, I think you got to be really careful. So where our offices for my telecoms company, Agility Comms, is in Ormskirk. Have you ever heard of Ormskirk?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there's a big university called Edge Hill University, and 15 years I used to play football there. Great football pitches, by the way. And the campus was really small, but you want to see the campus now. It's like they've got like a Starbucks and like a Subway and like a Greggs in there, I think. So my point is, I've got a customer actually who's got a lot of properties and he does really well. But I think you've got to be really careful that the campus doesn't overtake the properties, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, very much. I think any service accommodation or HMO business, will always come down to it's very much more an area focused business versus I believe that buy to let can near enough be done at any part across the UK. Anywhere that someone would want to live, it can be done. It's a much more simplified model. Based off of that, obviously it's going to earn you less money, but it's much more vanilla and passive income, I believe.
Cool. So coming slightly to the end now, I think, but just last couple of bits. So any advice for beginners? So if I'm a beginner, pardon me, if I'm a beginner and I've never done anything in property, I've never done anything in business, maybe I've just finished university and I've been watching your Instagrams and I go, wow, you've done really well. What would your advice be to them? So no money, maybe I'm going to get a job, but I'm really interested in property. What would one golden nugget for them?
Yep, I've got 2 if it's all right.
You can have 3 if you want. No problem. As many as you want.
I've got 2 main thoughts that I really want to share on this. So it's like,
cool.
The first thing is to figure out your kind of your available time. So what can you dedicate and put into this?
Yeah.
Your available capital. Have you got a load of capital, or have you got none? And then have you got and what are your goals that you're trying to achieve? Okay. Yeah. Between those 3 things, you should be able to form kind of a strategy and figure out which route you want to go down in property, because you want to get that crystal clear. Because I see a lot of people going loops and loops, right? I might do buy to let, I might do HMO, I might do service accommodation, rent to rent, and they go in these loops and cycles. You need to get really clear on what route you want to go down and just be super focused on that, okay? And the way to get there is to figure out those 3 things: time, capital, goals. That's my first point. And
in that order?
I would say yes, because depending on your available time, that's going to be what's going to actually allow you to do this or not. Because I see some people go, I want to source properties, but they already work 50 hours a week. It's like, you haven't got any time available for this, really. So in that order, ideally, if you can. So that's the first thing. Start there. Figure out the strategy. Figure out where you want to go and be hyper-focused on it.
Yeah.
The other thing, and again, we covered this last night in the event, it's something we say, or we call inputs versus outputs.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of people think, I'll get into property, I'll do 10 viewings, I'll get my offer accepted, it'll be a nice, easy life. And
I used to think that, by the way.
Yeah. Sometimes things will go your way and it'll be really good, but more often than not, you have to do a lot more volume than you think.
Yeah.
So, if you want to get 2 properties in a year, it's not going to be 10 or 20 viewings. It's probably going to be more like, 50 to 100 viewings.
Unless you go direct to vendor like I've done, because that does cut it down massively. Just for me personally, anyway. But yeah. If you do the traditional route, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Caveat that bit. If you go direct to vendor, if you work for Sourcer, there are ways in which you can
cut it down.
You can reduce that down. If you're going to go through an agent, if you're going to go through more traditional routes, the chances are you are going to have to do more volume than you think you're going to do. Because even if you do direct to vendor, it's not as if you're going to do one letter, one property. There's going to be an element of volume required for that, right? Yeah. So it's inputs versus outputs. So what we try to get people to focus on is, rather than go, right, I want to get one property next year, so I'm going to focus on one property, think about, right, well, realistically, how many viewings we have to do to get that one property, how many offers we have to make, how many follow-ups you have to do. Sure. So if you actually focus on the amount of inputs you have to do, then you're more likely to get the output. So that's the other thing as well, is to kind of to really focus on volume, I guess.
And in terms of, talk a bit about community very, very quickly. So in terms of the community, what are your goals? If anyone's interested in the community, how do they sign up? If you just give us a bit of an overview, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share it.
No, of course.
We're really looking to cultivate a great group of people, like-minded property investors.
I'm only sharing it, by the way, because I'm going to get free access to the community because of this now. See the laugh then? I'm only joking. No, so go on.
The fee's just gone up double for you there, Alan. So basically, just the easiest way to find out more is property-x.co.uk is our website, or put in PropertyX into Google, what have you. Or you can find me on Instagram, YouTube. We basically just want to build like a really great network of people. Now, we do lots of different things as part of PropertyX in order to teach people and give them value and help them through their journey of buying. But two parts of that is like, regular weekly training, and the other part is like private events. And those two things alone, these people get to obviously direct access to me, but also direct access to other investors. And when you get to see the benefits that people get from that, it's something special. So that's what we want to continue growing that. And that's where we'll put focus into doing that. I want to continue growing the sourcing arm of the business. So people can always get in contact for that side of the business too. One thing on community actually. Pure Paddle in Manchester, which where I play a lot of paddle. And I'm not just talking about paddle because I like it. By the way, there's a point. There's method of madness here. So they've set up a really good place, and Sammy Aurora, who set it up, who's going to come on back as well, he's done something really good, which is created a community. And I think in any business where you can, in our business, in agility comms, in a B2B space, it's a little bit hard to set a community up, but in any business you can set a community up and get that sort of feel and belonging. I think it's great, not just obviously selfishly for the business owner who's going to bring people on and get people to pay money, but more for everyone that's involved in that community. And everyone, like you've said, you had your event, people collaborating. I think community is absolutely key to any success of any sort of business like this, or especially in any like sort of B2C world anyway. Community agree. I think is just the way forward. If there's anything I can leave as a bit of advice for anyone, the community is key. And if you build a great community, people refer, and then you get even more organic growth from that as well. So I think community is absolutely key. Is there anything you think Sammy at the Paddle Club does?
I mean, I think what Sammy does, he's really good on his Instagram. He's very well connected, which also helps as well. So there was a pro-am event that I was invited to. A few celebs came down, which was great. But also I think he's built a great team as well. So you've got Jose, who's the manager there, Tommy, who's one of the managers, Lewis, who's manager of one of his paddle clubs, and I think having great people work for you as well. We've got the lads from PropertyX watching this podcast live, by the way, which are good lads who obviously helped Justin. But I think having the right people in any businesses, by the way, having the right team, will amplify your growth and whatever you want to achieve. So I think for him, Sammy's built a great centre. Great courts, he's got a mezzanine, he's built a business hub in there so people can do the teams calls and go and play paddle, which is a fantastic idea. But I think having a great team that have the same values as well, is like absolutely key.
It's like the culture of the company as well.
The culture, the people, your culture, aren't they? So and they sort of are an extension of Sammy. Again, I'm doing them, being really passionate and really nice about them because they're really good people. So I think they sort of build the culture for you. So if there's one thing, he's built a community of people, absolutely, but the community is only there because of the people he's probably got working with him on this project. That's what we want to call it.
Yeah.
And last thing, I promise for everyone is, if you can, and I'll name one resource as well that helped me in property. If you had to name one resource in property that, if apart from PropertyX, this is by the way for a minute, but one, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whatever it is, one resource that you'd recommend to anyone watching this, just to get started, assuming that they don't really know much about property, one resource. It's hard because I know you're going to have many in your head and you're thinking which one, but just one.
Yeah, I think trying to think which I believe would be the best to turn, because obviously I think there's so many fantastic channels now that people can go onto YouTube. I think a lot of people should consider listening to the Property Hub podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, with Rob Dix and Rob Bentz.
Because
I've listened to that for years.
That's
brilliant,
consistent, and that has so much value in terms of they cover all the topics that maybe others don't, in terms of like the nitty gritty of interest rates.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Maybe it's boring for some, but it's very much needed at times.
Oh God, yeah.
So that's something that I won't always religiously listen to weekly, but I tune into as and when I need. And
that's right. The 18-year property cycle we mentioned. That's where I came across that concept, because they're big. The guys are big proponents of that. So yeah, yes, 100%.
So I would say that's a good place to start in terms of learning property. I would obviously use YouTube. I think it's such a good resource and tool. I would say also,
what's your YouTube channel?
Thank you. So my YouTube channel is just Justin Wilkins. You can search.
Yeah.
In terms of like a book that someone could go away from today, because we talked a little bit about trying to secure deals and try and get things below market value. The Art of Negotiation, or Never Split the Difference.
Chris Voss.
Yes.
Read that years ago. Yeah.
Split the Difference. These are more kind of like sales related books, but
what's needed when you're on your journey to source, you're going to do source and get cash, you're going to need it.
Yeah. So I could recommend property related books, but they're going to be about very sort of simple strategies. But I think actually try and hone in on your skills that you can bring into property.
Yeah.
So
I'll give my one.
Go on.
Which is not a property book per se. Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know it's very cliche, by the way, but that's the first book that I read, and I bought that book for at least 20 people who were just a bit like, I'm not too sure, because it tells you the difference between an asset and a liability. And, the one thing that Robert Kiyosaki does say is, an asset is your rental property, of course, but a liability is your home. Which a lot of people watch this and scratch their head going, but when I'm 70, it'll be worth 3.5 million quid. It's worth 500 grand today or whatever. But it'll cost you money in the long term. Then you've got to sell it. You've got to find somewhere to live. So, and again, I won't spoil all of it. But Rich Dad Poor Dad was the book for me that I probably read about 10 years ago.
Yep.
So I'd been early 20s, and I was like, wow. I was like, that was like the moment where it made sense. So that's the one book I recommend for like everything for anyone, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I read it first, if no one's read it and they're going to read it, you might go, but he doesn't tell me what to invest in.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but he doesn't tell me. Well, that's the start of the journey. So you go and read that book, understand the clear fundamentals of assets and liabilities. And he's got other books like the Captain's Cash Flow Quadrant and all sorts, but Rich Dad Poor Dad is the book. And he's got a podcast, I think, called the Rich Dad Radio Show. I don't know if you've ever listened to that.
No, I've not actually, no.
Worth a listen. Again, I don't like you, not religiously, but Robert Kiyosaki, for me, that's what made everything click.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, that's a nice way to end, isn't it?
It is.
That's a very good way to end. Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thanks, everyone, for listening. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. Justin's channel as well, Justin Wilkins. 40k subscribers now, give or take.
Getting there,
yeah. Give him a like. I'll link to a lot in the show notes as well. And thank you all for listening, and I'll see you soon.